Okay, in this picture we're in Photoshop and Jan has allowed us to use her lovely picture of two ducks on a tree stump. But what she wants to do is she wants to remove this distracting branch here, and I don't blame her because otherwise the picture is lovely. And just for additional going over the same idea, I'm going to show you how to remove this one, and we'll remove this one using a different method, but hopefully it'll all come clear. So remember, you've edited your picture in Lightroom to the tonal values you want. The spot healing process in Lightroom isn't good enough, or at least I'm not good enough with it to remove this. So when I show you what we do here, you'll realize that this is a much quicker and easier way to do it until you learn otherwise. And if you learn otherwise, please share with the group. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this layer so that if we really screw it up, we just throw the duplicate in the bin and we start again. Okay, so we go to the, sorry, I need to just click on Photoshop, to activate it. In Photoshop, not QuickTime, sorry about that. So we go up to layer, new layer, via copy. Okay, and you can see it has a shortcut, but I prefer not to show you shortcuts just yet. You can learn them for yourself. So we create a new layer, and as you see, we now have two layers up here. If we turn one off, nothing changes because they are just duplicates of each other. Okay, and this one is highlighted, so this is the one we're working on. If it looked like that, the background is highlighted, so remember the lighter gray means that's the layer you're working on. So we're going to come over here and we're going to get the lasso tool. So it's however you pronounce it. I pronounce it lasso. Some will lasso and some will Ted. So if we click on that, we get three options, and we just want the freehand one. The other ones are for using other tools to make different shapes and things. So, but we just want to go freehand on this one for now. Okay, so we click on that and we come down and we're going to select a point just off the edge of the duck, and we're just going to carefully do a rough selection, and we're going to come down here and we're going to get rid of the dark part of this stick, but I think we're going to be okay with the part of the stick that turns brighter, so we won't for now mess with that. Up here, and then just join them together, and we get what's known as marching ants in Photoshop. Can you see the way they just sort of look like they're marching around in a pattern? So that's our selection. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to use the very powerful content aware tools that Photoshop has been developing over the last couple of years. So we go up to edit and we come down to content aware fill. Okay, and this will open up a new window which we'll talk through when it appears. So click on content aware fill. So now here is our content aware fill, and the green highlighted areas are where it's going to try and sample information from to work out what it wants to put in there. And if we look over here at the example, it's pretty good until we come to the breast of the duck here, and it's obviously picked up some feathers because we're saying yes, sample the ducks as well. So in this case we want to sample more of the fuzzy green and brown out of focus background than we do the ducks. So everybody pay attention to that piece there. You can see that. Okay, so now to add more to this selection, we press the plus symbol. So we're going to just add a bit more. You can be as rough or as tidy as you want, but that's what we want to do there. And now we want to take, so again, look, it did change slightly, but not to any good degree. So we now press minus and we go in and we just roughly paint out the duck. And it hasn't caused us a problem, but it might do in additional pictures you work on. I don't want it to sample the actual big log they're sitting on, so we'll remove that from the selection as well. So remember, anything that's highlighted in this color, in my instance it's green. If your settings in Photoshop are set differently, it might be a different overlay color, but green is what it is on mine. And now, did anybody notice? Those feathers are gone because it's not allowed to sample from the duck, so it's having to sample all of these areas here, so the duck is perfect again. So now we just click OK. And there's my dog bell. We'll give her a minute. So this is the new layer that's been created, and as you can see, there's the content aware fill. Now these marching ants, to get rid of those, you press if we go to select, just see if there is, so yeah, there's a deselect. Again, there is a shortcut, but I don't want to do too many shortcuts for you. So you go to deselect, and it gets rid of the marching ants. And quite frankly, that looks pretty spectacular to me. So now let's get rid of this one. We could do exactly the same thing we've just done. Do a selection around there and tell it to content aware fill. But in this instance, I think that's quite an easy one to do. And Jan may have done that in Lightroom, because I think Lightroom would have done a good job on that. But in this instance, I'm going to show you how to do it in Photoshop. So if we come over here to the healing brush tool and we click on that, out will come a flyout menu, and we're going to choose the second one down, not the spot healing, but the healing brush tool. Okay, so now when you come down here, what it's asking you to do is make a selection of somewhere, just a point to say this is where I want to sample from. So if we were to say I want to sample from here, then I would just paint along the branch here and the cursor will follow me. You'll see that now in a second. So on a Mac, if I hold down the Option key, we turn into a bullseye. On a PC, I believe it's the Alt key, and we'll double check that in a minute. So click on that, and now when you hover over, you'll see that it's showing you what it's going to paint in there. So if we now start painting over that, can you see the plus symbol above is showing us where it's sampling from? And it's gone. Okay, so now let's go and show you again how to use content aware fill to get rid of this big one. Okay, so we go back up here again to our lasso tool. We roughly draw around the edge of this, and once you get to the edge here, because you're on an edge, if you just let it go, it will automatically pin the rest of it for you. You don't want to try and do that out here, because it does all sorts of results that you may not want. Okay, so we've selected that, and we might want to just probably click back on layer 1, because that's where it's going to be stealing it from. Layer 1 copy is where the actual adjustment has taken place. So we've clicked back on layer 1 so that it knows where to select it from. Actually, let's click on layer 1 copy and see what happens. So can you see there's very little to select from? So that's not what we want to do. It's working in this instance, but that's not what we want to do. So we're going to cancel that, and we're going to click on layer 1. We'll go edit, content aware fill, and this time we get a much bigger area to sample from, and that looks pretty good. But again, we've got a bit of the ducks in. We're still at minus to take away, so let's take away a bit of the ducks. And it did tidy up a little bit more there, so you can see where it's tidying up. So if we now just add a bit more to that sample, And again, you should have noticed it's just ever so slightly changed. So we'll click OK on that. Okay, and again, go up to select, deselect to get rid of the marching ants. And now, I could go through and just tick all 3 of those off, which is a bit of a pain. Just so you can see what the original picture looked like. But to do that quicker, if I select all 3, I can go to Layer, and I can go down to Group Layers Together. So now I have all of those in one place, and I only have to turn the eyeball on and off. And quite frankly, if you had never seen that there, you'd be pretty happy with that. Okay. The one thing I would suggest is if you have an image like this and you want to go in and print it, I would go in and look at a bit closer just to see if there's anything obvious. So holding down the space bar, and this tip is valid for Lightroom as well, any tool you're in, if you hold down the space bar, the tool becomes a hand. So then you can just use your mouse to click and drag, and we can see that there's a little bit going on there that needs tidying up. But the rest of it looks pretty good to me. So what we will do is we will go into this group. Come on, open up the group, and let's just see what's going on here. So what would we need to do there? So that's the edge of the duck's breast. So we need to, let's see if we can use the healing brush tool again, and let's just, we'll make it smaller, and we will sample it again. So we want to sort of sample it from there. Nope, that's not working. And I did a Control Z, Command Z there to undo that. So we're doing normal. Right, let's try it from out here. Just as with all retouching tools, sometimes you need to try them from different places. Oops, that's no good. So up there we're doing normal, so let's do replace. So on up here, when you're doing spot removal in Lightroom, you have heal or clone. Here they're called normal and replace. Then you have additional ones here which we won't go into, but normal and replace are the equivalent of heal and clone. So in this instance I'm going to try clone because it was doing replace. And that's just a little bit better. Okay, so let's zoom back out on that. So yeah, so if you were planning to do a large print of this, you would have to go in, as with any retouching you do to an image, and just make sure your edges are viewable as possible, so the person looking at the picture can't see where you've done your retouching. But as I say, that is pretty spectacular. So give it a try, let me know how you get on, and get back to me with your thoughts and comments. And if you can think of a better way of doing it, because as with all of these things, there are many ways of doing these things, please let us know so we can share the information with everybody. Alrighty, but this is the way I would do it till I know better.